Since returning to office, Donald Trump has repeatedly alienated some of the United States' staunchest allies, whether through his tariff policies or even calls to take over countries like Greenland. Now, as the U.S. enters the third week of its war against Iran, nations around the world are also facing the military and, most importantly, a little bit, economic impacts, leading to questionable support of the U.S.'s actions at a time when it may need it the most. In the UK, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, the country's third biggest party in parliament, is calling on their prime minister to urge King Charles to cancel his upcoming state visit to the U.S. next month as a result of the ongoing war. Ed Davey posted online, quote, given Trump's illegal war that is devastating the Middle East and pushing up energy bills, Prime Minister Keir Starmer should advise the king to call off April's state visit to the U.S. A state visit should not be given to someone who repeatedly insults and damages our country. Joining us now is Sir Ed Davey, leader of the Liberal Democrats Party in the UK. Sir, thank you very much for joining us this morning. When we are in kind of a deluge of news here, and as reporters and journalists, we're constantly digging through it, and we have our own views of how this country may be viewed. When you talk to your colleagues, when you talk to people that you represent, the people of the UK, when they look at a Justice Department that is gutted, they look at, a president who is governing by id, who will decide that the Iran war is over when he feels it in his bones. How do people in the UK view this country at this moment?
Well, let's be clear. Many of us love America. And we're full of admiration for what many of you are doing in Minnesota, across the country, standing up to Trump. And, we're full of admiration for what you're doing. Beating Trump is vital for America. It's also vital for the rest of the world. So we're on your side when you're standing up to Trump, because I have to say, I think people across the UK are pretty unhappy. We tend to be really pro-America. Certainly Liberal Democrats are. But when you have a guy in the White House who's like this, I mean, it's unspeakable. We no longer consider Trump to be a reliable ally for our country.
Well, and to that point, Ed, I'm going to put up some headlines of how President Trump has been talking about your Prime Minister Keir Starmer, where the president said, I'm very disappointed in Starmer over Iran, or says that Starmer is no Winston Churchill, or rebuking Starmer for not letting the U.S. attack Iran from U.K. bases, or Trump accusing Starmer of seeking to, quote, join wars after we've already won. And we like to talk about, on both sides of the pond, about the special relationship between our two nations. And I appreciate your kind words, the people to people, British to Americans, citizens wise. But when it comes to the nations, has that special relationship been harmed by the constant attacks by the President of the United States on the British Prime Minister?
Undoubtedly, Donald Trump is not helping that relationship that we value so much. And, I think he should look in the mirror. I mean, I'm not going to here to defend our Prime Minister. He's a leader of a different political party. But right. One thing I will say for our politicians, they wear shoes that fit.
Jackie, please. That is the most incredible dig at Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and the picture of him in those shoes that do not fit. I thought I was the only one who noticed that.
You were not.
Sir Ed, you are fire this morning.
Sir Ed, I'm wondering, the Prime Minister has deployed limited military resources to the conflict, seemingly because you've all inadvertently been dragged into this. But is there anything that the Parliament and that you all can do to ensure that no more military resources than you've already deployed are further deployed?
Yeah, we're certainly in my party arguing we shouldn't get involved in this. Frankly, the Prime Minister, in my view, hasn't stood up to Donald Trump anywhere near enough. I've been arguing that while we have Trump in the White House, we need to look for strengthening our alliances with our European colleagues, with our Commonwealth colleagues like Canada. What I'm looking at for our Prime Minister is to make sure not only does he keep out of the war, but he's not dragged into it by pressure from the White House. So, there's many of us in the UK Parliament who are asking some tough questions to make sure our country doesn't follow Donald Trump. And, let's face it, this illegal war of Donald Trump is devastating for countries across the Middle East who are our allies, but it's devastating for people, isn't it? We're seeing the price at the pump for our petrol and diesel go up. We're seeing oil price go up. It's going to damage our economy. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about it in America, what he's doing to your economy. He's really letting people down in America, and he's laying British people down too by his outrageous, reckless actions.
Is there, though, political will to stop a war in the House of Commons right now?
Yeah, I'm sure if there was a vote in the House of Commons, there'd be a majority to say we're not having any part of this war. My party wasn't that keen on the Iraq war, I have to say. I voted against the Iraq war and when Tony Blair joined George Bush. But I think it wouldn't be just the Liberal Democrats this time. I think we'd have people from probably all parties saying, no, this is a war we should keep out of. We do have people on the right, people like Nigel Farage, who's a best buddy of Donald Trump, at least he claims to. He was cheerleading for the war. I think he's gone a bit quiet now because he realises that most people in the UK think it's a disaster for our world and disaster for our economy.
British ambassador to MAGA.
Exactly. I want to read something, a Trump's Truth Social post about Starmer after the announcement one of the UK's aircraft carriers was placed on high readiness. He said, "The United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer, but we will remember. We don't need people that join wars after we've already run. President, in all caps, Donald J. Trump." Sir, what is your reaction to the President of the United States referring to the UK as our once great ally?
Well, it's sad in a way because many of us still see that relationship between the UK and America so important. But I think it speaks volumes for your president, I'm afraid. I think he's betraying everything that has made America great. He claims he's making America great again. Well, he's not. He's losing influence. He's losing allies. He's ruining your economy. There are people in the UK who think he's doing it as a distraction from the whole issue around the Epstein files. I don't know if you know, but in the UK, we're holding British politicians who were involved in that scandal with that paedophile sex trafficker, Jeffrey Epstein. We're holding them to account. We're holding our Prime Minister to account for having, I think, using bad judgment, appointing Peter Mandelson to be the US ambassador, even though he'd had a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein after he'd been convicted. So we're doing our job holding British politicians to account. I think Donald Trump should be held to account. And some people argue, I don't know if it's true or not, but some people argue that he's gone to war, this hugely expensive, damaging war, in order to distract people from being held to account for the thousands of times his name's appeared in the Epstein files and his close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Sir Ed Davey, real fast, can Prime Minister Starmer survive the controversies that have come out and that have hit his government as a result of the Epstein files?
It's a good question. He's shown catastrophic failure of judgment, really poor judgment, and all the evidence coming out from the UK files as well suggests that he made a massive mistake. Right. Only time will tell. It partly depends on the Labour Party. He's a leader of the Labour Party, right, and that's what puts him Prime Minister. Depends what Labour MPs think. Certainly, from our point of view, he really has shown that he's made some serious mistakes, and he needs to answer for them properly.